Grayson's face was unreadable as he took another sip of his coffee. Lars hated that about him, that he couldn't read the man. He had no idea what he was thinking. I know. You know? Yes. You're not that hard to read. That casual observation stung. He couldn't understand Grayson, but Grayson had no trouble reading the emotions off his face. Or was the alpha bluffing? If you know I'm not a sub, then why are you still calling me boy? Grayson slowly finished his coffee, then put the cup back on the table without a sound. He leaned back in his chair, folding his hands behind his head. You want something else from me, Lars. But I don't think you're ready to accept it yet. What the hell was he talking about? Sure, the thought of experimenting a little more with Grayson had gone through his head, since he'd loved the sex with him, and his gentle commands. But Grayson made it sound like Lars had something specific in mind, something more than that. Even if he had, he'd never admit it. There was no way in hell he would give that much power to an alpha. Lars crossed his arms. I don't want anything from you. Grayson slowly shook his head. Don't lie to me, boy. I understand that this is hard for you, but lying won't get you anywhere. Lars's eyes welled up at those words, which frustrated him even more. Why did this infuriating man affect him so much? I'm not lying. What will it take for you to get off my case? Grayson chuckled. You're wonderfully naive if you think I'm going to stop hounding you about this. I'm not going anywhere. So you'd better get used to it. We don't want you. We don't need you. Why the hell can't you just leave us alone? Lars? Sven had stepped into the kitchen, catching his last words. The shock in his voice was palpable. Lars shoved his chair back with an angry gesture and got up. What? Your heat is over, isn't it? We don't need him anymore. Sven looked shocked at first, then almost sad. But, he seemed to search for words. Do you need to be rude? He finally said, disapproval dripping from his voice, which had an unexpected layer of resolve. Lars looked at him, hearing what Sven wasn't saying loud and clear. Sven didn't want to embarrass him in front of Grayson by disagreeing with him, but it was clear he had an opinion on what Lars had said, and deep down, Lars knew Sven was right, knew that he and Sven did need Grayson, even if he couldn't understand why. That knowledge filled him with even more resistance, but it also made him curious. So far, he'd only seen one side of Grayson, the sexy side where he bossed them around in bed. Grayson had called him out on his behavior before, but he'd never gone beyond stern words. What would the man do if Lars really pushed him? That thought made his stomach flutter. God, how he wanted to find out. He pretended to be indifferent to Sven's indirect criticism. You want to kiss his ass? That's fine with me. I've tolerated him for the last 2 days for your sake. But I'm done.